Alrighty, so good morning, everyone. My name's Taylor Battistella, and I'm from Boomerang Labs. Big welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time today, and also big thanks to the regulars who are also in attendance today. Today, we're really excited to explore how the fashion industry is rethinking, reusing, repairing, and recovering, moving beyond the traditional take, wake, make models to create more sustainable, regenerative systems. We're joined by an incredible panel of innovators who are leading the way in circular fashion. I'm looking forward to diving into their experiences, insights, and the opportunities that they see ahead. Before we get into the webinar, though, I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we all work and live today, extending our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. In my case, I'm in Melbourne, and I'm working on the lands of the Wurundjeri people. So please take a moment to write in the chat and acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands from where you're dialing in today. It's really great to see such a national audience of these calls, so it'd be interesting to see where everyone's coming from. So a little about us. We're Australia's first circular economy accelerator, and we work with startups and innovators from the early stage of their business, where they're just working on an idea, all the way up to the late stage startups who are looking to commercialize across all sectors and industries. And for us, it's really great to see how we can implement circular economy into the core of the businesses rather than just as a little add-on, like so many businesses are also trying to do. So yeah, we feel like we're doing some really good work in that area. So this here is a little overview of how we see our programs. For us, the events like today, they're a really important aspect of Boomerang Labs. It's a great way to build our community and see how we can keep people engaged and interested in the startup space. We don't only need the startups, but we also need customers who are going to be the people that help drive the change for each of our businesses. So that's it from me. Before we introduce our speakers, I'd just like to acknowledge that we do have a couple of other webinars coming up. I'll post their links in the chat shortly. So Nahal, if you'd like to just give us a bit of an introduction into yourself and then hand it off to Owen and then Amanda, who can start with their presentation from there. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to start first? Amanda, do you want to go first?
You just do your introduction of what after is Nahal.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm Nihal, one of the co-founders of After. So you'll get to see in a little bit presentation of exactly what we're about, but essentially looking at the recovering side of the value chain in textiles. If the next person wants to go.
Owen.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Owen Parry, founder of Hello Tailor. Yeah, I'll be talking about repairs, and we do clothing alterations and repairs Australia-wide. Yeah, we have a website that customers can come to, and we're starting to work with brands and other partners as well, so we can sort of scale up our impact. Yeah, I'll go over to Amanda.
Hey folks, nice to meet you all. I'm Amanda Lee from Revibe. So we're a fashion technology platform, and I head up their growth and partnership space. So what I might do is now share my screen to kick off on my webinar, on my presentation. All right, folks. So like Owen, I just want to quickly start off by just acknowledging the traditional custodians of this beautiful land that I'm coming from, the Camaragal land of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people on this call today. So firstly, Revibe. We are the fashion technology platform formerly known as Rntr. Oh. We just rebranded a couple of weeks ago over the Easter break. And really the reason why we've rebranded is because of that demand, the growing demand in the resale economy, circular economy. And can you guess how much they estimate that is worth in 2027, where we're moving towards? Can you guess? Is it 1 billion, 2 billion? It's actually 6 billion. So this is the reason why we've extended our offering from rental as a service to also resale and repair as a service. So just to kick off, firstly, on where this all sits, I'm sure everyone on this call is already familiar with this, so I won't go into details of the 9 Rs of sustainability, but essentially we've got all of our rental service is in the reduce space, resale is in reuse, and of course repair. So why now, and what's the issue? Now, again, I think most of you on this call are familiar with the problems of the way we collectively dress ourselves. So, as Australians, I know we all love being world champions, and but very sadly, we have taken over the #1 spot from the US on the number of garments that we purchase per person every year. So that's 56 in Australia. And of that, over half to 80% of that is just left unworn in our wardrobes. And that's creating this hidden cost of waste. So again, I don't think it's new news for anybody that 10% of all global emissions are coming from new apparel and 20% of all water waste. And then of those new items that we're purchasing, 60% of them are ending up in landfill within 12 months and creating all sorts of challenges for us. I know in Sydney, the New South Wales EPA have said that we're going to run out of landfill space by 2030. And textiles is one of the challenges and one of the key areas as well. And then on the other side, in the apparel industry that we love, the Australian fashion brands, it's a really challenging environment. Brands are disconnected from what happens to the clothes once they bring them into the world. And then there's so many brands that are making beautiful clothes that are going out of business every year because the economics of things is so difficult. From, Whitner the other month through to the Mosaic Group with Rivers, from a mass market brand right through to high-end fashion labels like Dion Lee. So this is where Revibe steps into play. We empower brands to re-engage the customers by providing this tech backend platform that lets them integrate resale, rental, and repair into their offerings, essentially. And what this does is it lets them re-engage with customers in this really authentic way. And it also gives them that opportunity to take a chunk of that circular economy, that revenue that's being new revenue for their businesses as well. So it's something that we've built for brands and we're really passionate about working with brands on this because like we had on the other slide, the challenges of overproduction, we firmly believe aren't going to be addressed unless brands take control of this and make it a part of their business models. And the really interesting thing that we've seen with some of our case studies and some of the brands, amazing brands that we're working with, is that it's actually giving them access to new customers because interestingly enough, I don't know if you realize this, but a really common stat apparently is that in Gen Z's wardrobes today, there's a high percentage that are actually pre-owned items. Can anyone guess what that is? If you want to put it in the chat as well. What do you think is the percentage of items that are actually pre-owned in the young folks' wardrobes today? It is 2 in 5 items, so 40%. So it's a really great business opportunity for the brands to connect with the next generation of their customers. So I'll move into the case studies. So these are some of the fabulous brands that we work with. Again, just launched a couple of months ago. We're now powering Assembly Label's Reworn program. So it's a take back program. And how it works is that if you have an Assembly Label item that you no longer are wearing, you can take that back into the store and they will give you a voucher to then purchase a new item. And that product that you've given back now has the chance to have a second life. So it gets returned. And so not only are we providing the tech back-end platform, but we're also providing the third-party logistics for the reworn items. So we will take that, we will repair it, we will wash it, we will photograph it, we will put it back online, and we will send it out to the person who now purchases that item. And there's over 1,000 items that have come back in just 2 months. And then when we do put them back on sale on their website, 50% sells within 48 hours and the rest within 2 weeks. So that's the take back resale model. Then I'll move into Karen Willis Homes, which is a fabulous bridal brand with their peer-to-peer resale platform. So we enable and we manage the back-end peer-to-peer platform for them. And within 24 hours, over 100 listings were posted. What we've seen this give the brands is customer database growth. They've had social media traffic, and over 50% footfall traffic is coming into their stores. And what we've seen is just an increase in conversion when they are in those stores, because you're giving customers that safety and that knowledge that there is a life cycle and an aftercare option for them once they've spent what is a lot of money on their wedding dress. Then the third one that I'll talk through is the rental platform that we help brands adopt. And so this is one of the more exciting, this is one of the really exciting ones, because it means that customers get to rent new season, current season items. And what we found with Oraton is that 60% of all the rental customers are new to the brand. There's no cannibalization for their full sale products. And for products that are their sellout items, what we're seeing is that they're booked out 6 months in advance, and there's multiple requests for them. And there's even a home, people are desperate to buy them after they've gone through the platform. So brands are really able to get the most monetary value out of their top items. So what can you do in this space as a consumer, right? You can shop sustainable brands. So brands like Lovan, Assembly Label, that are creating fabulous, beautiful products, and also minimizing their impact on the environment, which then you get to benefit from as well. Like me, when I first started with Revibe, you could do a de-stash, get to know what this is all about, lighten your wardrobe, make some money, do your part and just get amongst it. And then the next time you're wanting to buy something, why don't you consider borrowing or renting something instead? You know, through our platform, you can rent for 30 days to try that look. And I'm sure, like me, you probably got items in your wardrobe that you just never worn again. And there's specific events. I know I've got 3 bridesmaids dresses that I've never worn since that initial party. And then the other thing you could do is just ask your favorite brand to offer a resale program or a rental program. And then I just want to touch on what could you do in your work. So if you're a fashion brand, or you know a brand who'd like to find new circular revenue streams and engage staff and customers in this really meaningful way, just send them to us. Let's have a conversation. And then the other thing that I think, when I think about communities and engaging them, the thing that always comes to mind firstly is what David Attenborough said, which is that climate change is actually now a communication challenge. So what we'd love to do is we'd love to come and talk to your communities. Have you got festivals that you're running that we could come to? Are there corporate activations? We're already talking to corporate partners and festivals to be there. We've got these amazing experiences that we've developed. We'd love to be on podcasts. We'd love to have speaker opportunities. So let's engage your audiences and engage them and inspire and inform them. And then lastly, investing in the fashion transition. To do this at scale, there's a lot of infrastructure investment that's required. So we're calling on all climate investors and government grants. We'd love to know more about them, and we'd welcome any of your support as well. And then lastly, thank you so much to Boomerang Labs, to Taylor and the team, and to this community. What I love about being in sustainability is how everyone wants to help one another. And likewise, I've made some call outs and would love, if there's something that we can do to help you too, we'd love to be able to. So shoot me a line. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Amanda. And you're getting a whole lot of questions in the chat. Might let you have a read over them. And then we'll get Owen's presentation, and you can come back and I'll give you a chance as soon as we finish the presentations to just directly rattle them off.
Amazing.
All right, Owen, you can share your screen and we'll get started with you.
Okay. Can we see that? Yep. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks to Boomerang Labs for giving me the chance to speak today. Yeah, really appreciate it. As we've covered, my name's Owen Parry, and yeah, here to speak about repairs and alterations and what we've been doing at Hello Taylor. I want to start with convenience. We live in the convenience economy. Everything from music, movies, TVs to meals, and even toilet paper, it's just a few clicks away. I think thanks to platforms like Shopify, buying new clothes is easier than ever. And, naturally as a customer, we take that easy path. I think that's why we end up with so many new clothes. Why do we bother repairing when replacing with brand new is so effortless? My journey in circularity, repairs and alterations started in late 2022. I bought a new pair of chinos online, just wanted them taken up by 6 centimeters. And after searching, I just moved to a new suburb. So after searching sort of Google, driving around, couldn't find anything very easily. Eventually found a place, dropped them off, got them taken up, waited a few days, came back, and then they were 6 millimeters when I got them home. So had to repeat that whole process. So I sort of already thought it was a bit of a hassle for the first time around, and then obviously doing it twice, that left me wondering, why is this such an inconvenient process, and why hasn't the convenience economy caught up in clothing alterations? And then that's what sparked me to start Hello Tailor. So Hello Tailor is an online repairs and alterations platform. It's available Australia-wide. We've built it to match the convenience that we've all become accustomed to. So we offer 3 different shipping options: door-to-door with Sendle, mail-in, so you can use Australia Post, their Red Street posting boxes. So there's over 10,000 of them, or drop off at Australia Post or Sendle, and there's over 7,500 drop-off points around Australia for them. And I also love Australia Post's latest QR code that's available now on sort of every satchel, which is fantastic for us, because printer free was sort of a big point of friction for me in terms of making it easy. I think there's plenty of people of my generation that don't have a printer. So I think that's a good point that is not really an issue anymore. So yeah, beyond convenience, we partner with social enterprises like Second Stitch, the Social Studio, the Social Outfit, and Assembled Threads. And they are the ones that are doing the alterations and repairs for us. And the great thing about them is they're helping that talent gap in the Australian fashion industry as well. So they're obviously doing training, vital skills development, and paying ethical wages. The next step for me, beyond I guess that consumer, hellotailor.com, that's the consumer facing solution. For me, that's sort of building out the proof of concept and saying, this is what I would have wanted as a customer, and how can we evolve and now do this at scale? Obviously, sort of building an audience for a whole new service is a huge challenge. And the step for me then is building this B2B solution, which we launched October last year. And yeah, we've now got fashion brands using it. So we've got a brand called Cream, Recycle are using it for repairs, and we're talking to a few new brands who will be announced soon. And what our B2B solution does is allow fashion brands to embed alterations in the online journey. So I'll often say post-purchase, you'll get your garment, you purchase it online, you get a pair of pants delivered, and then that post-purchase sort of email, has it been delivered? Is it on your doorstep? Now, do you need it altered or taken it up? And that's where we jump in. And we are then encouraging the brands to re-engage with the customers and discuss repairs post-purchase. So 3 or 6 months down the line, do you need a zipper replaced? Did a seam bust that you need resew and that sort of thing? For the brands we work with, there's a commercial upside, and they also get the data and insights. So obviously the social impact for the work that they're generating for our social enterprise partners, and circularity reporting, because we're keeping in garments in use longer. So over my short time in this space, I would use this one graphic to, I guess, summarize my learning of the problem. I guess we talk about the circular fashion value chain, and it's often depicted as a circle. The way I like to think of it currently, I guess current state, is production is obviously wide, and we end up with a small slither at the bottom that is recycle. And I think obviously we need to shift to production meeting recycle, and we need that middle section, rental, repair, refashion, rewear, making up that fat middle. So that's the cultural shift, I guess, that I'd like to see over the next sort of 5 to 10 years. Hopefully we can accelerate that as quickly as possible. Yeah, I guess speaking to the audience, if you're a circular fashion startup yourself, I think the policy tailwinds for myself and your business, the timing is great for us. All the data's on the slide, but Seamless has launched in Australia on July 1st last year. So, they're the first clothing stewardship scheme. EU, a lot of their regulations are involving textiles and being quite specific about that. And also the US right to repair. It's so easy to end up in that rabbit hole on LinkedIn or Instagram and see that there's a lot of policy shifts there at the moment as well. The growth channels for us at Hello Taylor, I guess we've started with this D2C and shifting our focus now to B2B. So really focus on offering repairs and alterations for brands at scale. And the growth channels for us are wide. I guess I've thought about uniforms, partnering with other apps and platforms, working, there's so many wonderful community initiatives and people sort of doing grassroots stuff. And my background is as a tech founder, worked in hospitality tech for 10 to 15 years before this. So I sort of look at these problems and go, how can we bring tech to that and make that scale? So if you've got a startup or you're in the circular space, always love to chat business and ideas and sort of say, yeah, how can we sort of throw some tech at that problem and scale it up a little bit? And obviously this is a model that it is started, like it does exist in the UK, but it's not huge. So there's also the chance to take it global. That's it from me. So if I can help in any way, if you're a brand or a circular business or a startup, would love to chat to you. My email is on the screen, and don't hesitate to reach out, and can answer questions at the end as well.
Awesome, Owen. Thanks so much for that. You got a few questions as well, just like Amanda. So yeah, we'll give you that chance once we're done with Nihal to answer them.
Thanks.
Hey everyone. We had some really great presentations already. I guess I'll share a slightly different angle to everything. Every 10 minutes, 6,000 kilos end up in Aussie landfills. That's the equivalence of one adult-sized elephant, as you can sort of see visualized here. It's quite stark. Like Amanda was saying, about 56 garments are purchased every year. Go next. That's roughly like 27 kilos, and so much of it ends up discarded as well. I think on average, someone's wearing an item about 7 times before discarding their purchase. So absolutely, we need solutions across all aspects of the value chain to see what we can do. I think in Victoria alone, about only 4% of items are actually recycled. And recycling, like we've seen, is right at the bottom, something we definitely acknowledge. So what we do at After is take care of your unwearable textiles after you. The business began with myself and Yisha. So I'm one of the co-founders. And it started because we as individuals loved fashion. And I mean, we still do, right? We all love looking good, feeling good. And clothing and textiles is in every part of our life, not just from the clothes we wear, but beyond as well. But when we started learning about the problems of fast fashion, started to change our own behaviors, started from within as individuals, going, okay, well, what can we do about it? From buying less to buying secondhand to repairing. And when we do wardrobe clear outs, we often found that donate pile, maybe a repair pile you'll keep, maybe resell pile. But then we also had this growing pile of items that we would just stockpile internally that you couldn't really, with a good conscience, donate or give, because they're unwearable, end of life, they're torn, worn, stained, and otherwise just not in a condition to do much with. and perhaps when things get a bit beyond repair as well. So I think that's really the part of the value chain that we play in, and that we then thought, okay, well, what can we do? I guess you can probably guess we couldn't find any solutions out there at the time, and especially convenient ones. Like Owen was saying, it's all about convenience. And as an individual, you're going, how can I do something? Like, I don't feel good about throwing this in the bin, but that's the only thing that's available to me, or what direction I can find online, because it's not something that's taken with your regular council pickups. And yeah, so we decided to tackle that problem ourselves by creating a at-home service where we'll come directly to your doorstep and collect your box of items that are unwearable. So specifically items that are worn, torn, stained, or in just a condition that you can't donate to a friend. And we started that with households individually. So much like ourselves, to go, well, if we have this issue and we're starting to see that others care about this as well, how do we bridge that gap? And from there, it's really grown into, actually, we now service a whole lot of businesses, which I'll talk about in a bit as well. So it's now a at-home pickup service for both households and businesses. We operate nationally, but mostly we do monthly collections for households in Sydney, Melbourne, and even Auckland. And for businesses, we can come and collect anywhere. So how it all works is you'll simply go to our website, purchase and book a collection. Like I said, for households, we've got monthlies, but for businesses, it's a little bit more flexible as well. We'll come and collect directly from your door. So you just leave a box out your front door. It's a contactless pickup, and then we transport it to partners. So this part's probably the most interesting, because After is really playing in that recovery space. We take almost all kinds of materials. And what that means is textiles are incredibly challenging. They're so different they're not a homogeneous item like potentially, like soft plastic or HDPE could be. It's very much mixed materials, which adds a lot of challenge when it comes to how do we best deal with this at its end of life. So we like to partner with specialized recyclers and upcyclers, which is where it goes. We have about 3 main pathways. At the moment, anything that's pre-consumer that's coming through from a business will go through, stay on shore and go through to upholstery filling. So these are items that are shredded down and then created as, for example, furniture filling. So here's an example of what that can look like once it's broken down. Secondly, which is probably the largest portion of our materials at the moment, is post-consumer. So they're items that individual, or even coming from a business, the items people have worn. From a business perspective, this can also be items that need secure destruction. If you've got logos or branding or other IP on your garment that you need to be broken down before, and then you, for whatever reason, aren't able to upsell it or do anything else, and that's items that we can also take. So we'll break those down, and through a mechanical fiber to fiber recycling process that our partners do, we're able to turn it into new yarn, which then gets resold into the upholstery, furniture, home furnishings industry. I've got some more photos and things of what that looks like next. And then the third most perhaps interesting, I find this really interesting thing that we've started this year, is also, we started honestly just getting a lot of inquiries from individuals wanting to take our material back, looking at, hey, we want to, especially the design community in Australia, they're very future thinking. They're now being educated about sustainability a lot in their courses themselves. So we saw a lot of people actually asking us, going, hey, we can see that you're collecting. What can we come in and look at what you're collecting? We'd love to potentially take some of that for our projects. So for example, here's a couch that a local Australian designer has made. The entire bespoke lounge, known as the Loom Lounge, is actually made from reclaimed materials, right from the steel framing, the sort of crisscross vibe, as well as all of the textiles, which was a real play on how can we, instead of using foam, which can be quite damaging, actually use a very different type of textile material and rag weave method to redo upholstery in a reclaimed way. So we've started offering or opening up projects, collaborations with local designers, creatives. Another example is we've had a fashion brand that actually takes items from us. So for t-shirts and pants, for example, mostly items that even if they're not perfect, he'll re-dye them, wash them, repair them, and then screen print over to resell. So items that, we think nobody else is really interested in, but after doing a bit of that extra love and care, giving it that TLC, they're able to find a lot more value within it. So examples of what happens with the yarn, because it's mechanically, we've talked about the shredding, and then items are actually respun, and you can sort of see here with these are kind of blurry images, but you can blame my photography skills from visiting the warehouses, but you can see how items eventually going to these big barrels where they're turned into slivers, which are going in and basically turning into yarn, which can then be dyed, etc. So you can see sort of green ones here and the end products turning into rugs. Obviously, it's not an exact replica of what it's turned into, but it's an example of some of the materials they've been able to create. And end products very much so looking like home furnishings, home decor, like so. I find this really fascinating because obviously there's a long way to go for innovation in textiles and in remanufacturing and recycling. We're really honest with the sort of level where we're at. At the moment, none of our material goes into clothing again. We collect more than just clothing, but the items typically are a little bit more rough. As you can probably see that the yarn's not super, super thin and fine like you might find in thread. And that's because it is a post-consumer material, which then turns out to be quite suitable for home furnishings. And so this is an area where we're really interested to see how we can continue to partner with more and more specialized industry partners. So in terms of what we do accept, we work with a whole range of businesses. You've got like corporates for uniforms or schools, construction, hotels, there's a lot of bedding or PPE perhaps that's also involved, hospitality, tourism, a lot of the bedding, linen, pillows, clothing and fashion, of course, even working with councils from a individual household perspective. But items specifically that we take are the ones that are at their end of life or are unwearable, torn, damaged. Uniforms, we've also fabric scraps. We get a lot of home projects and fabric scraps and things coming through. So it's honestly a very, very broad list. It's not a comprehensive list here at all. Even things like bags and everything's able to be decommissioned, shredded down, and turned into something. So whether items are gone through to sort of upholstery filling, whether it's new yarn, whether it's upcycling projects, like literally nothing goes to waste. Even items that aren't like, most items do end up turning into yarn. If there's any small, really short fibers that are left, they just get compressed into felt material or additional filling material. So literally at every stage, there is a pathway for your materials to go. Same with the zips and the buttons, it's all with our partners then resold. So for our complete side note for what we do for households, we often get asked, why would someone book a collection with you and pay? And we're really fortunate that there is a massive changing movement that we see with consumers of wanting to actually do the right thing, and they acknowledge that this is something that they're interested in. But something else that we've been able to do, which we're really excited about, is actually create a bit of a community between other Australian and New Zealand sustainable ethical brands, often ones that are quite locally based. So we've got a list of some here that we've partnered with to create a recycle reward program. So every time an individual is booking a collection with us, you can actually be rewarded with a discount code to any one of these partners. And what we find this does is we're out here wanting to uplift all circular and other sustainable solutions. So how can we continue to build upon the network and community that we're forming? Because they're really interested in what we do. And if they're interested in what we do, they're probably interested in what you're building on as well. And how can we continue to create that and strengthen that community? So that's really what this program's about. What we're also excited about is that as we've been growing, we've actually started taking on more and more business customers. This is probably just a snapshot of some of them. And it really ranges from, like you can see, like schools and corporates to government and all kinds of other organizations as well, or fashion. So we've worked with them from a range of either it's collecting their materials, recycling them, potentially coming in, doing talks and other things, creating like clothing drives, all kinds of things. And hopefully we'll be able to do some more upcycling related projects with them as well, and potentially being able to even bring back some material that comes through at the moment. That's not something that we do, but it's definitely one we're looking at as well. So for now, this is all from me. You've got my LinkedIn, email number, anything. The QR code takes you to our website. If you've got any questions or want to be involved in what we do or share the word, we're all really appreciative and open to any kinds of collaboration or conversation. Thank you.
That's awesome, Nahal. Thanks so much. I'll give you a chance to read all the questions you've got as well. We'll go straight back to Amanda. We'll go through Owen to you, and then we'll open the audio up so everyone can ask their questions out loud if we miss anything or anything else comes to mind.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. Really great questions. The first one was around if we had any research on what customers are most keen to rent in Australia. There isn't any. We would like to do some. We'd like to be able to actually gather that data regularly. And we're talking to partners about that. What I have been personally doing, though, is talking to a lot of our customers. So just literally talking to people that are renting. And I think that, like, it comes down to why people are choosing to rent. And a lot of it is because, you know, high value. So it's about accessibility and affordability, not just the room, the space that it can take up sometimes. And what we're seeing is people, event wear clearly is one of the biggest, most popular things for people to rent, because, you know, you're only planning on using that once, very likely. You don't have that many occasions. But even with everyday wear, there were definitely some use cases where, you know, people are literally in between sizes and they're going through a life change. And so they're actually needing something. So this comes down to customer needs. They want to have beautiful stuff to wear for a short period of time. So again, I think it just comes down to customer needs. The other question, MH, all the major fashion labels, when's the forecast that we see them offering reuse? Is it 2035? It's actually now. This is a big business. This is where the growth that everyone's trying to achieve is coming from. So I think Kering Group which is Gucci, and Yves Saint Laurent, they've just invested 178 million with Vestiaire Collective to try and fast track the resale community. And, you know, all the different platforms, especially in Europe, they're now, you know, being endorsed by the brands as well. So I think it's only going to grow even more. They've got Burberry, and lots of different other things are coming up. Quality control. How do we manage quality control? Again, as I mentioned, I spoke to a lot of customers, and what we found was we had a lot of stylists coming to us. And one of the really great insights we had from them is that they said, Amanda, Rntr Revibe now is amazing because we know it's going to be quality. You're a professional outfit. When we are renting from the peer-to-peer platforms, you get it's hit and miss, because sometimes people aren't actually washing or dry cleaning the clothes properly. They're skimping on this sort of thing, you know, because you're taking the risk with the individual, and there's nothing wrong with these platforms. 100% they should be there, but that's just the core difference. Stylists and people that this is a key part of, you know, their business, they really like that from us, because we make sure everything's done properly. And quality controls, because the stock is actually owned by the brand. So that's the key thing. Everything that's in our warehouse is not owned by us, it's owned by the brands. We could also get access to their other stock. So if in the event of there being a product returned and we have to repair it and there's not enough time frame to send it back out, we can probably work with our partner brands on getting something to them in their stock range. Then channels to purchase all of these items. So with Assembly Label, you purchase this on their website. We do have our own platform for rental, which does curate the entire collection from all of our different brand partners who are offering rental. So that's our current website, and we do offer that. We don't for resale yet. And we think that the key thing, and what we're seeing even with Assembly Label, is there's definite benefits to having it in their own ecosystem, because it's helping with getting basket size up there. It's giving their customers perceived sense of value, you know, that's no longer about discounting. It's actually, you're getting something that's still of amazing quality, that it always has been, at a really attractive price, and then you can buy something else at the same time. And so again, it's helping with just their retail sales full stop on their websites. So I think that's one of the benefits of having it on the brand websites. And then in terms of the difference between men and women, you know, across the board, like all the studies have shown that yes, men, and if you talk about genders, they do have a greater carbon footprint because of diet, their lifestyle choices, etc. But women 100% with fashion. I mean, there's a whole industry based around attracting and making us all feel like we need to buy something new. And so, yes, women are the biggest contributors to the carbon emissions coming, and the biggest users of fast fashion, full stop. There's just so many more brands on that space. And it's interesting, you know, beyond the gender, even thinking about like who can afford this. When you think of fast fashion, you think, oh, people with lower incomes, but actually there's 70%, 76% more clothing waste created by people with higher incomes than those on lower incomes, which I thought was really interesting as well. But happy to chat more on stats. And if anyone wants to talk to me about doing this, would love to work with you. I'll hand over to Owen now.
Hey, yeah, I think I saw James from Always Carbon question there about like the tax being like, does this need to be taxed? Is it a voluntary thing? So Seamless is the clothing stewardship scheme, and it's voluntary at the moment. But I think watch that space, because I think all hints suggest that something might change in that respect. But there's so many amazing brands that have voluntarily opted in to that scheme, which I think is just wonderful to see. So check that out. Seamless Australia. And Jane had a question about finding which brands have sustainability and social standards. And my little Google tip is just search for the brand name plus impact or plus impact report. And all the major brands, or most major brands, will have an impact report online or something similar. They sort of come by slightly different names, but that's a great place to start, because that will show you what they do throughout the whole entire chain, from production, who they work with overseas, to what sort of like, platforms like myself or Revive, etc., that they work with after. So that's a really great way to sort of just discover which brands, or at least have the right people thinking about it. I think that's it from the questions I saw for me, but happy to answer anything else later as well.
Great. I've tried to get a head start by starting to respond in the chat, but I might try and quickly go over it now. So Jane, question around, does After partner with other orgs like Recycle Smart? And yes, we have. So partnerships tend to look quite different from time to time, but at the moment we have done some work with them with their business pickups. So not so much with the households, but yes, for the business. And absolutely, we're really keen to continue to partner with anyone in that space where we can sort of continue to work within the supply chain. Was great to see that you met Yisha a couple of years ago. What's the scalable business model with logistics, and how do pick-up drop-offs work? And how can we help? Yes, I think from council, there's, I think certainly a conversation to be had, and we are in conversation with some councils, but keen to have more. I think there's just so many different paths of what that could look like. So I'd love to take it offline and dig into that more. Absolutely. I mean, in an ideal situation, how great would it be if there was like yet another bin to add to your council pickups? Not sure how realistic that would be, but hey, something we can definitely think about. In terms of, at the moment, we work with contractors when we first started, it was just like Yisha and myself, but now it's certainly, we partner with other logistics companies to help us get the scale and make it as efficient. This is one of the reasons why we do the one-off or the monthly pickups once a month, meaning we'll bulk collect all on one day from all locations, and that helps us just optimize with emissions. Thank you so much, Lisa. I would say that the upholstery filling probably isn't an equivalent to Polyurethane foams, it's not quite the same as foam, but absolutely something we can talk about as to what you might need and what that could look like. So please reach out. So I'd love to chat a bit more on the specifics that you're looking at. But I'd say at the moment, it's really just shoddy material that's then compressed. So I guess we have limited in-house ability for that at the moment, but definitely there are ways in which that can be done. But I'm not quite sure if it would meet the polyurethane foam requirements. So one we should chat about. James, there was a question you had, which probably wasn't just to me, but you were wondering whether voluntary actions are enough or whether we need other regulatory responses. And so we've had a bit of conversation about seamless and how that's a voluntary scheme. The only thing I wanted to add there was, I think I'm in the personal opinion that we need everything. So, we need across the value chain, we need solutions from all of the above. And instead of a conversation of which one's better than the other, even out here, whether it's reuse or repair or recycling, I think we need a bit of everything. And we need, the more people get on board, no matter which angle it is, that's important. Voluntary to some degree is great, but I definitely see that there's so much more scope. And sometimes for larger brands, the stick ends up being bigger than the carrot. So one to balance between, I'd love to see how we can tackle, especially with a lot of the imported material in Australia. I gave Ashi an example in the comments. Is remanufacturing onshore? So that's a great question, Carla. And so sorry I didn't mention that before, but we have a couple of different pathways. Our goal is to have both onshore and offshore offerings, both in Australia and New Zealand. We're not quite there yet everywhere. In New Zealand, we have some level of onshore, and also then we have the offshore, whether it comes to Australia or whether it goes overseas. In Australia, for pre-consumer, we're able to, well, if it fits with the requirements of some of our partners in furniture filling, then yes, we might be able to take that on board and keep it onshore. And for upcycling related projects, certainly, but for the majority, which is the post-consumer, that actually currently happens in India, in facilities that have the right GRS certifications, and that we have visited ourselves to make sure that we align. Absolutely nothing that we collect gets resold. Everything is always fiber to fiber, broken down in, then turned into new items, whether that's yarn or your furniture filling or the felt material. So definitely something that we can offer certifications and paperwork to back that up with. But yes, we want to partner because we're mostly in the recovery space as opposed to in-house recycling. We're keen to partner with the right people, and as technologies develop, to see how we can continue to expand that and grow it more.
Nahal, we might open the floor up to questions now from everyone. So I'll take the spotlight off you in a second if I can figure it out. Yep. So yeah, turn your cameras on, literally raise your hand and I'll call your name out. And yeah, you can fire away with your questions. James, you can go.
Thank you, folks. Super interesting, and I really appreciate all the presenters sharing their work. So thank you, folks, and thank you, Boomerang Labs, for putting this together. It's a bit of a selfish one. So we're working with landfills, and we're working with a couple of folks who carry out textiles. We're in the biochar carbon removal space, so we're upstream, usually agriculture and cotton and this kind of stuff. It's very clear that there's a segregation issue, and that in Australia that needs to be automated. So our partner in Africa, they're doing it by hand, easy peasy in a way. Humans are very good at this. Is that solved as a technology? I mean, can you buy an off-the-shelf solution with a sensor or a suite of sensors that will shred the material and separate the polyesters and the dyed materials from the undyed natural organics? Because we would treat them extremely differently and do very different things with them if that were possible. So thank you. Just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one on, perhaps from my understanding, unless somebody else wants to jump in. I think this is definitely an area that after starting to look into more to see what's possible, because absolutely when we take everything and we're starting to potentially create more and more different streams for where items go, that's becoming more and more of an important piece of the puzzle for us. And there's no sort of service or centralized way of doing that as of yet that I'm aware of, but always happy to be challenged or stood corrected there, would be very exciting to see. My understanding is that there are some sensors and things that can be used, but it's still fairly manual process. I think there are some existing sorters in Australia as well that are exploring textiles, but I don't think there is a scaled solution just yet that kind of covers everything. And from there, it's, once again, the funding and infrastructure problem as well, on exactly how that fits within any business at the moment. I know there's some conversations around government and where that sort of ownership and need for this to fit in, but it's definitely one that we've started to explore and would love to continue to be in touch with others that are thinking, so we can create a solution there together.
I can quickly jump in because it also touches on your question before. I think that in the resale and fashion space, there's been so much money put into it, a lot of startup money, a lot of funders, and none of them are really turning a profit yet, because it's a really hard space. And so all the major research that's coming out is saying that there needs to be government support for this, because this isn't just a fashion industry thing. This is an environmental challenge. So you've got to look at it from that lens and put the necessary investment for infrastructure, because yes, there is the technology. It would make it immensely more viable for businesses like us if everyone had a mandated tracker on all the clothing items, so that it's really easy to be able to relist something rather than in just removing the human interventions required. We can use AI, and that's what we're testing, to be able to take photography and to be able to identify what that product is. But how do we make it scalable? It requires technology investment, 100%, and government legislation on these things too, and ideally government support.
Thank you. I think it's a fascinating topic. I'm very happy to discuss it, offline if anyone's interested too. And we don't have a good answer yet, but we're hunting for one, if that makes sense. Can I just
to jump in, James and everyone? Just a quick one. Check out. It's a US business, but Refibered. In the US, they were the global eBay fashion winners. So I think they're in that space as well, and spending a lot of money on AI tech and sorting stuff. So don't know all the details, but definitely worth looking up that one as well.
I'll go look it up. Can I just ask one more follow-up one? So in our sector, carbon removals, carbon markets, all this kind of stuff, CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism that Europeans brought in, seems to have really been effective in moving industry in general and multiple industries forward. I know the Europeans have got a very comprehensive and long track record on it. Australia, frankly, doesn't yet, but could do better. Do you think a CBAM type mechanism, where there's in effect a textile or a landfill textile adjustment tax on stuff crossing the border, would that make sense, do you think?
I think anything that changes the economics of it would help 100%, because that's the biggest challenge for brands that are adopting resale and rental into their, it fundamentally costs a lot of money for people and humans to handle this stuff. And so then it makes it really, it's hard to compete with fast fashion. So if you can move the scales a little bit, it will always help.
Thanks for that, James. Anyone else who's got any other questions?
Yeah,
There's a lot coming through in the chat. It's hard to keep up.
G'day, my name's Woz. I've been an entrepreneur across the ESG and climate space for 15 years. My question is for the founders. First of all, it's awesome to see more female founders than not on the panel. I just wanted to show everyone my t-shirt because the future is female and we need to see more of it. My question is on the government funding side. Obviously, we've got some local government folk on the call. In our little universe, we all know about the National Reconstruction Fund, which is a $15 billion fund from the feds, which hopefully will still exist next week. How might we as a sector engage with the NRF to help them think about some sort of circular economy fund, which funds this whole sort of sector, in particular textiles waste, because obviously we're number 2 in the world behind the US, which is atrocious, because ultimately we're greedy. That's what it comes down to. How might we fund that? And how might we also then leverage the capabilities of local council? Because ultimately they take our stuff and put it in the big bins, i.e. the ground. How might we sort of unfuck that whole system, pardon my French?
Anyone want to go for that first?
I think from my point of view, I guess just seeing a lot of circular startups. I think Nihal covered it on before. I think it's a whole array of approaches. There's no silver bullet. So I think, yeah, just the landscape of everyone tackling the different problems from different places, and then having government support, private and fashion brands all supporting us and all the businesses like us. I think we will see change, and it's just a matter of riding that wave and waiting the time. I'm hopeful anyway.
Awesome. All right. Well, that brings us as close to 12 as we're going to get, because I fear that we're going to get a million more questions. What I'll do after this session is we'll send out a follow-up email, and in that follow-up email will be a copy of this recording, and also, with the permission of the guest speakers, their contact details, so that you can get in touch with them. I do just want to say a big thanks to those of you who are on the panel today. It was really great, very appreciative of your time and your great expert insights. So yeah, it's been a really successful webinar, I think, and thanks for all of you for coming, and to those of you on the panel.
Thanks, everybody.